Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. Last day of Pesach is upon us. We welcome you from our beautiful sanctuary. I am Rabbi Javier Katapan, and I am joined by Leslie Zucker and Howard Pittler and our technical team behind the scenes. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, and you can say hello by typing Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach and click enter. And also look at the comments where you can find there all information posted during the service. If you are joining us on the virtual sanctuary, the links to the PDF for today is right above the player, and all other links are in the e-news. And the PDF today is really important because it is Yom Tov, so we need to use pages from that other half of the Mishkan Tefillah that doesn't get used very much, except when we have a Yom Tov that happens to be on a Friday evening. And here it is. Now, remember I mentioned at the beginning that Pesach was on Motzei Shabbat, at the end of Shabbat, which means that the last day of Pesach will be on Shabbat, and that happens about every 19 years or so.
Wow.
So we won't have to do this spiel again for another 19 years or so. So you're safe. If you forget it, I'll repeat it again in 20 years or so. If you have any technical difficulties, we invite you to write down this number, 913-303-1134. That's the number you text if you have any technical difficulties during the streaming, and a dozen will get back to you as soon as possible. So as I mentioned, now we are on page 384. How about that page? I never get to say that page. I'm so excited. You got to take the small victories, right? And it is Kabbalat Panim for festivals, and the blessings will include Shabbat and Yom Tov, so it's slightly different. If you are joining us and lighting the candles for Shabbat and festivals, we invite you to light them now and join us in the blessing on page 384.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat v'Yom Tov.
We continue together in the middle of page 388. Today is the seventh and last day of Pesach. We remember on this day our crossing of the sea so long ago when Miriam, Moses, and all the Israelites sang this song to God. Adonai is my strength and song, who has become my deliverance. This is my God, whom I will enshrine. So too do we sing out in praise on this day of our redemption. And it is Shabbat as well, so on page 390, we join together in words from Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Psalm 92.
לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון. My spirit takes release. I close my eyes in peace, and from my soul heard far above springs a song of
להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון. Page 138, we continue together with Lecha Dodi. Will be singing stanzas 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, all the odd numbered. לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם אלוהים טורף עליו. Right.
לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, ומצהי מתוך ההפכה. רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמוד עלייך חברה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Let's try this again. התעוררי, התעוררי, אימוני קרובי אורי, 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 שיר דמי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי,
לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שוסייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך. יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, ימסוס חתן על כלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
בואי ושלום, עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Page 393, it's a poem by Leah Goldberg. Lamdeni Elohai. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Let my day today be as the one before. Less routine set my ways.
Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 406, we will continue with the words of Mi Chamocha, which are part of our Torah reading for this evening. We're having a Torah service on the last day of Pesach, and the melody we're going to use this evening is written by Leslie, and is based on the trope that you will hear just a little bit later tonight. Mi Chamocha va'elim Adonai, mi Chamocha לדל בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא, מלכותך רבניך, בוקר הים לפני משה מרים, זה לי, אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך לדל בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא. Page 408. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Ve'amitenu shalmeinu lecha. וידבר משה את מועדי אדוני אל בני ישראל. And Moses declared the appointed festivals of Adonai to the people of Israel. So we come together to the Amidah, beginning on page 468. We have an Amidah that includes both Shabbat and Pesach together. We invite you to use the words in our Siddur through page 492. Also take this time to offer a prayer, a meditation, a time of silence with yourself or with whoever you are watching this service. אתה בחרתנו מכל העמים, אהבת אותנו ורצית בנו, ורממנתנו מכל הלשונות, וקידשתנו במצוותיך, וקרבתנו למלכנו לעבודתך, שמך הגדול והקדוש, עלינו קראת. You have chosen us in love and favor by making us holy through your mitzvot and drawing us close to your service, that through us your great and holy name may become known in all the earth. In your love, Adonai our God, you have given us Shabbatot of rest, feast of gladness, and seasons of joy, this Shabbat day and this festival of Pesach, season of our freedom, to unite in worship and recall the Exodus from Egypt. Bestow upon us the blessings of your holy festivals, and may we so celebrate them as to be worthy of your blessings. Our God and God of our ancestors, make us holy with your mitzvot, and let your Torah be our way of life. May our rest on this day be pleasing to your sight, satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. Let your Shabbatot and holy festivals remain our heritage, and let us celebrate them with love and favor and joy. To all Israel, hallowed your name, may have cause to rejoice. We praise you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat the house of Israel, and the festivals. Baruch Ata Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat v'Yisrael v'Hazmanim.
ותן כלכנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך ושמחנו בישועתך.
Well, that should put us in a good mood for our Simcha moment.
Yes.
If you are so moved to share special Simcha from this past week, a joy will include your birthday, anniversary, good news and accomplishments of all and any kind. We invite you to do so by typing them in the comments. And please use a few words, press enter so we can all see them. In the book of Exodus, we read, the waters were split and the Israelites went into the sea on dry ground. And this is this day, according to the rabbis, in the progression of days during Pesach. You know, the first night of Pesach was the day of the last plague. And now we are to the Sea of Reeds. And a very famous midrash that you probably have heard says the angels of the heavenly court wanted to sing, but the Holy One said, my creatures are drowning in the sea and you want to sing songs? Rabbi Jill Hammer, in her book, The Jewish Book of Days, teaches Passover, the gate of the sea opens. We see the divine not in the heavens or the earth, but in the waves. Today, according to Jewish tradition, the Israelites enter the Sea of Reeds and cross through an oceanic passage into their new life as a people. Nisan is a season of rebirth, and the parting of the sea is the birth of a new people. Just as the soil parts wondrously to allow the tiny shoot to emerge, the sea parts to let the new tendrils of Israelite nationhood emerge into the wilderness. As the people gather on the sea's far side, they sing a song of wonder and deliverance. Moses declaims poetry. Miriam dances. It is a moment of supreme joy. In the well-known Midrash, the angels are so delighted by the rescue of the Hebrews that they want to sing praises. And the Holy One instead commands the angels to sit silently. While the Israelites are entitled to be glad, they are free of their oppressors. The angels must remember that the Egyptians too are creatures of the Holy One. Their death is a cause for sadness, not rejoicing. Today, the 6th day of the Omer, according to the Hasidic tradition, is Yesod She Bechesed, connection that rises out of chesed, of love, of compassion. So the Song of the Sea teaches gratitude for our triumph, but the angels' silence teaches compassion even for our adversaries. Together, we mark the counting of the Omer on page 168. Hineni mukhan umezuman lekayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat haomer. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom Shisha Yamim LaOmer. Today is the 6th day of the counting of the Omer. And as we gather all our simchas, we offer special prayer. Divine source of blessings, we thank you for everything that enriches our lives. We turn to you now with gratitude as we share in the happiness of all those who have marked their birthday anniversaries, good news, and accomplishments. Adonai, be with them now and always. May they be blessed with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow, and with much health and happiness now and always. As we honor each one of you for the gifts that you bring to our virtual sacred community, we join together in song as we mark this sacred occasion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. We continue now our service with the service of the reading of the Torah. Begins on page 497 with Al Shlosha Dvarim.
Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Haolam Vomer. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha
על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד.
I expected you to go up. I was just waiting. And yes, I am having fun. This is very celebratory.
We're going to do the ending again.
Okay.
שלושה דברים העולם עומד.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It's Pesach is my favorite holiday. What can I
Is-
say?
Spring is springing,
Yes.
and people are getting vaccinated, and it's Pesach, and it's almost time to eat chametz again. There are just so many reasons to celebrate right now.
Which, by the way, if you were paying attention at the beginning of the service, you can only have a chametz havdalah once every 19 years.
Wow, you know what's funny is I was
So
here and
this
listening.
is the year. If you are not planning to be here tomorrow, put it in your plans now.
We'll see you in 20 years.
This is one of those big Shabbatot that happen once, really every 19 years or so.
Wow.
According to tradition, the seventh day of Pesach, namely today, is the day on which Pharaoh's chariots overtook the fleeing slaves, at the Sea of Reeds. And in Exodus chapter 14, we read the description of how the pursuing ancient Egyptians were plunged into the sea while Israel marched through it on dry land.
It's a pretty intense story.
After the narrative account of this extraordinary event at the Sea of Reeds, there follows one of the two oldest poems found in the Torah, Shirat Hayam, the song by the sea or of the sea, but it's really the song by the sea. Exodus chapter 15, verse 20, links this song to Miriam's song, which may have predated the actual Moses song. It's both are really lyrical outpourings of emotion on the part of the people who experienced the great events of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of the Exodus from Egypt. In chapter 14 of the book of Exodus, the Torah teaches, then Moses held out his arm over the sea, and Adonai drove back the sea by a strong east wind all that night and turned the sea into dry ground. Va'ibak'u hamayim, the waters were split. This very moment is what we commemorate on this Shabbat, the splitting of the Sea of Reeds in the middle of the night. According to this tradition, when the morning dawned, the Jews looked back and saw that the waters had parted and that the Egyptian army was trapped. As a result of witnessing this wonder, this miracle, the Jewish people, led by Moses and some say Miriam, began singing a hymn of praise to Adonai, Ashira l'Adonai ki ga'o ga'a. There are really many explanations of how this first Shirat Hayam, the song by the sea, might have been sung. Some say that Moses would lead the song and that people will respond to him, Ashir Adonai, and people will say, Ashir Adonai, repeating every line after him. Took a long time, apparently. Some others imagine the entire people singing in unison as if they had been inspired by a divine spirit. And others suggest that Miriam and Moses took turns and the people joined them for selected lines as a type of refrain, like, Mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, and those part of things that we're familiar with. In the Middle Ages, Yehuda Halevi, perhaps the greatest of the Spanish Jewish poets, composed a piyut, a liturgical poem that lifts up the redemptive nature of the story and the song of the sea and celebrates it. In traditional circles, Halevi's piyut is recited during the morning service. Halevi's poem opens with Yom Leyebasha nahafchu metzulim shira chadasha shivchu geulim. You all know
Sounds
that
familiar.
phrase. That verse should sound familiar. The day when the redeemed traversed on dry land, La Yebasha, the delivered offered a new song of praise. And it closes with Veshuv Shenit, and please again take Israel as in the days of yore and cast her forth no more. Let sunlight crown her day and shadows flee away. For your beloved people will still come to you with song, singing, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Who is like you, Adonai, among the gods who are worshipped? Rabbi Arthur Wasco, commenting on Halevi's poem, teaches, Halevi's poem begins by celebrating the salvation of Israel at the Red Sea and then looks forward to the future great redemption, which is a subject, a theme that goes through the entire celebration of Pesach. Halevi's poem follows a well-known rabbinic pattern, often found in our prayers. It consists of reminding God, so to speak, that God is very capable of redeeming the oppressed, as the story of the parting of the Sea of Reeds shows. So why is the world still not redeemed? And in the case of Halevi, he really means the need for redemption, which is obvious to him at that time. And in his time, the Jewish people were living under the control of the Muslim and Christian rulers in the 12th century, and they were subject to many disadvantages. It may sound like chutzpah on the part of Halevi's, but it is rather hopeful, a reminder that things can get better because in the past they had gotten better when things were not good. Halevi is expressing the expectation that God will intervene in a wondrous way once again on behalf of the Jewish people. Yet in this hope, we can see a hidden critique of the way in which we humans tend to operate. We'll believe it when we see it. And it better be big. Think for a moment about the end of the pandemic and what it might look like. Wouldn't we prefer it to be a wondrous end? Like one day we would go to sleep and overnight, like the Israelites experienced it, everything would be better. We would go to bed tonight and tomorrow it would be as if nothing happened. No masks, no restrictions, no worries about when our turn for the vaccine may come, no physical distancing, nothing, just a day of celebrating, hugging, huddled together. Our ancestors were not much different than us now, were they? They also only praised God when it was really big. Where is the celebration after the first plague? Where is the praise after the second? Or the last? Or the actual departure from Egypt? Zip, nothing. I'm sure that they were thinking, we'll believe it when we see it, God. The Etz Chaim commentary quotes a midrash that casts some doubt about human nature, including the Israelites, expanding it beyond the enslaved Hebrews. Quote, "From the day that God created the world until this moment, no one had sung praises to God. Not Adam after having been created, not Abraham after being delivered from the fiery furnace, not Isaac when he was spared the knife, or Jacob when he escaped from wrestling with an angel and from Esau. But when Israel came to the sea and it parted for them," quote, "then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to Adonai, Az Yashir Moshe. And God said, for this I have been waiting." This midrash can be understood as saying how wonderful the Jewish people are that they know how to praise God. Or it can be also seen as a veiled criticism of some of our tendencies to only acknowledge the big stuff. In other words, they knew to praise God when they thought God deserved it. Now, there's some chutzpah for you there. So God said, for this I have been waiting. For this? Meaning, no matter how I, God, show them blessing upon blessings, unless I do something big, they will not notice it. Remember, the Midrash is usually more about the rabbis who wrote it than about God. And in that sense, it's really more about us than God. As much as we may be tempted to think that Shirat Hayam, the song of the sea, is here to teach us to praise God for big things, the Midrash is here to remind us that we should be thankful along the way as well. It is a hard lesson to learn. Our ancestors had 40 years to think about it, wandering in the wilderness of Sinai. Something they did not know about, and that some suggest they themselves brought upon. Perhaps had they learned to praise and thank God along the way, things could have turned out differently. So let us not make that same mistake. If a year of privations and losses should have taught us anything, is that we must celebrate along the way. At each moment, we must recognize the miracle of existence. As one of my beloved prayers says, victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach, everybody. So we're going to be now reading together the blessings, and then we will be reading from Exodus 15, verses 1 through 3, and then 11. You can find a link to the Torah reading on the comments. But before that, I need to get our reader ready. She needs to get ready. Yeah. We need to find a place. No, I have it right here. Oh, you're gonna.
Go ahead.
You want to,
No, whatever. Yep. Yep.
please join us. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. אז יאשר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו Simchatia, Vayhili Lishua, Zeli ve'anavehu, Elohei Avi, Varomemenhu, Adonai Ish Milchama, Adonai Shemo. Mi chamocha ba'ilim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele.
Blessings after the reading of the Torah. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher koach. Beautiful. As we gather on this Shabbat and Yom Tov, we turn our thoughts to those in need of healing. You may access the Misheberach list through the e-news that you received this morning. You can also follow the link in the comments. If you would like to offer names, please type them in the comments so we can all see them. Please go ahead and begin typing. As together, we join our voices on page 511 in the middle of the page with the words of Mi Sheberach. We think of those in need of healing. We also turn our prayers and thoughts to those who help in healing, especially first responders and health workers during this pandemic. May those who care for the sick with their hands, their voices, and their hearts be blessed with courage and stamina. May those who pursue healing through medical skills and knowledge be blessed with insight, patience, and compassion. And may all of us, the sick and the well together, find courage and hope. Service for the reading of the Torah concludes on page 514 with Etz Chaim.
Did
We continue together on page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech. May we never lift our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני, אחד הוא שמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני, אדוני אחד הוא שמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני, אחד הוא שמו אחד. ונאמר והיה אדוני, למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני, אחד הוא שמו אחד. As we prepare for our moment of remembrance, I invite you to turn to page 593. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision and grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love we are comforted. O life of our life, soul of our souls, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. You're joining us on this Shabbat and remembering a loved one, a yortzeit. We invite you to type their names in the comments. We have heard of the passing of Bill Zartman, uncle of Gloria and Howard Pittler, Jerome Jerry Inger, father and father-in-law of Sharon and Milton Katz, grandfather of Stephanie Kolb, and great-grandfather of Asa and Eli Maker and Shia Kolb. We're observing the Shloshim period for Gerald Bayer, father and father-in-law of David and Barbara Bayer, Sherry Abramowitz, member of our congregation, Gary Dumbler, uncle of Carrie and Kevin Romano, and Mark Weiland, brother and brother-in-law of Bob and Kathy Weiland. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzeits of members of our congregation: Harry Belmont, Mary Belmont, Saul Brontman, Gertrude Didi Dale, Virginia Esser, Rose Fishman, Elizabeth Glass, Peter Goldberg, Blanche Goldstein, Harry Gorski, Yetta Kaplan, Eddie Kirschenbaum, Mason Kessler, Sophie Lowenstein, Ilse Meyer, Rose Skigney, Fred Smith, Merrill Zucker. Zichronam livracha. May the memories be for a blessing. On page 598, we join in the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shmei rabba, ve'alma divra chirute ve'yamlich malchute, b'chaychon u'v'mechon, u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. יהא שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תוש בחתה ונחמתה, דע אמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, לחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, שים שלום עלינו.
It is time for some announcements.
Yay!
Special thanks to Leslie Zucker and Howard Pittler for our lovely music, and to our technical team behind the scenes, make everything possible. We invite you to join us tomorrow morning for Sichat Shabbat at 9 a.m. on Zoom. The Zoom link can be found in this week's e-news. Our next Shabbat service is tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. The Shabbat morning service will include Yizkor for Pesach. We look forward to celebrating Shabbat and Pesach in person at Beth Torah with the members who have registered in advance. You unfortunately cannot come just if you haven't registered already.
Not quite yet.
This service will also be, of course, streamed on Facebook Live and on our virtual sanctuary. This Thursday at 12 p.m. at noon, we have Eat Lunch and Learn with me during Lunch and Learn. Please call the office if you would like to have the Zoom link if you don't receive our e-news.
That is such truth in advertising right
Which
there.
is?
Lunch and learn. You're going to have lunch and you're going to learn. I love that. We cannot wait for our Chametz Havdalah tomorrow, the final countdown. For those of you of the correct age, tomorrow is 4, 3, 2, 1. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. You're welcome. And we are having Chametz Havdalah in the parking lot. We are going to eat some chametz. We're going to have live streaming and festivities starting at 7:15 on Facebook and the virtual sanctuary. And we do want to let you know, if you did not already order your pizza, you can bring your own chametz. You are still invited. We hope to see so many of you there.
B-Y-O.
BYO. Yep. You do. B'yach. It's b'yach. Bring your own chametz. Also bring your face mask and your lawn chair. Oh, yes. And moving right along, just a reminder that Song Session will be back on April 7th. And then our next in-person opportunity will be Friday, not including tomorrow morning, will be Friday, April 16th. Watch your e-news for details.
Is that Yom Ha'atzmaut too?
You know what it is.
Israel Independence
It is
Day. That'd be fun.
all kinds of celebrations of Israel. Yisrael.
Israel. Please remember to stay connected. Ksharim is very important during these times, and we encourage you to connect with us here at Beth Torah, your rabbis and staff, and also to check with friends from CBT. We're getting towards the end, and this is still important to stay in touch if we cannot be in person quite yet. We are all here for each other. We conclude our time together until tomorrow, singing words from the Song of the Sea, Ozi V'Zimratia, at the very end of our PDF.
And this also is inspired by the Nusach. So if you'll remember what I chanted, Ozi V'Zimratia V'Hi Li Lishua. This should sound familiar. Ozi
V'Zimratia V'Hi Li Lishua. Ozi V'Zimratia V'Hi Li Ozi וזמרת יד, ויהי לי ישועה.
Part two.
Ozi וזמרת יד, ויהי לי ישועה.
Part three. Ozi וזמרת יד, ויהי לי ישועה.
Ozi וזמרת יד,
ויהי לי ישועה. Adonai is my strength and my song, mighty warrior and blessed song. Through the darkness and battles and into the calm, Adonai was there all along.
Ozi וזמרת יד, ויהי לי ישועה. Ozi וזמרת יד, ויהי לי ישועה. Ozi וזמרת יד, ויהי לי ישועה. Ozi וזמרת יד, ויהי לי ישועה.
Part three.
Ozi וזמרת יד, ויהי לי ישועה. 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 Shabbat shalom, Chag sameach.
Oh, I can't wait till we're all singing that together. Take care of each other out there. Mwah.